12 o'clock, and I understand that we stand between you all and lunch. So I really hope that in the few brief moments that I was so blessed to have, that when you leave here and you leave the Coliseum, no matter what role that you're standing in, whether you are a school nurse, a counselor, a social worker, an administrator, a school board member, or a teacher, you know what your next step could be. One of the first things that I kind of want to set the stage is, one, if you've never been to Lincoln County, I have no judgment for you. I have been there one time before I was employed there, and that was to play a basketball game that we actually lost when I was in high school. And that's because Lincoln County has no interstate access. We have no large industry. We have the highest NAS rate in the United States. We have no stoplights unless you count the one on 119, but I'm not sure that counts. All of our schools have between a 65 and 100% poverty rate. We were previously taken over by the State Department of Education, and 4 of our 8 schools are CSI designated schools. So if a barrier exists, we know it. We've had that. But when I came into Lincoln County, I was blessed to have a great experience before I was given the opportunity to be the director of special education. I had learned from people from multiple disciplines. I had lots of opportunities to learn from them. And so when I got there, I was super excited about what could we do in Lincoln County. But I was very quickly taken aback by the fact I didn't understand a situation I had come into. We had nearly 30% designated as special education, and when I went around to meet my new teachers, I was repeatedly told over and over again, our strategies don't work, they keep giving us more kids, and we don't know what to do. Well, I had gone to school with some of these people. I had known their professors. I knew what strategies they had been taught. I had seen those strategies work. And so I knew something wasn't quite right. In the winter of 2016, we had the opportunity to go to a conference in which we heard a national speaker talk about the misdiagnosis of special education, when in fact what had happened is children had been exposed to trauma and adverse childhood experiences. From that moment on, we decided that maybe we were not doing what we were supposed to be doing, in the sense of we were qualifying them for special education because that was the only opportunity that we had had. But maybe, and just maybe, we weren't looking at the full picture. And so we pulled files, and we talked to students, and we talked to community members, and what we found was the majority of our children that weren't responding to our typical interventions, weren't responding to our strategies, and left our teachers tired. They had been exposed to trauma. So what were we going to do? Well, we kept researching, and we would try something new. And ultimately, our vision is that we build capacity through respect, collaboration, revision, and growth. One of the biggest things that our county has done is we've given an opportunity for all of our staff to grieve. And why do I say such a thing? Because if you have been in a staff meeting, I could probably ask for a show of hands, and I'm pretty sure I get about a 100% response rate, and it would be, it shouldn't be this way. This shouldn't happen. This isn't what we came to do as educators, right? Well, we have to let them grieve. We have to let them grieve for some of them, the classrooms that they had 30 years ago that they don't have now. Grieve for the situations that their students tell them. Grieve for the situations that they cannot change when they leave our schoolhouse doors. And grieve for the fact that they are looking into a very different environment than they began in their education profession. Our teachers have denied the situation. We have had anger. We've bargained. But eventually, our teachers come to accept that this is the reality that we have. No, it's not fair. And these children shouldn't have to face this situation. But they do, and it's our reality. And so it's our job to do what we can. Once we accept that, we take some principles of paradigm shifting from before to after. And the first thing that we accept is we think, as we talk to each other, as we grow, as we coach, and as we model, that everybody believes that they're right, and that's why they believe that way. And so we don't force our teachers. We don't place ultimatums on them. but instead we nurture, support, and grow the ones that have accepted. And what happens is the teachers want to come down the hall and go, well, you aren't having those issues that I'm having. You have academic growth, and why? And in that opening, we're able to sit and grow. I know this works because it's worked in my classroom. It has worked with my teachers. It has worked with my schools. Harts PK8 is a very isolated town in Lincoln County, and it borders Logan, and just over the hill is Mingo. There is no cell phone service whatsoever. There is one standalone restaurant and one in a gas station, and repeatedly they had achievement scores in the single digits. Their special education percentage was near 30%. Their suspension rate was through the roof, and they referred nearly 15% of their student population for the 3 years prior to the last 2 years of data that we have. In the past year, Hart's PK8 special education population has gone from nearly 30 to 14%. They have dropped to under 5% of special education referrals. Their SAT team is up and running, and they are completely focused on the social, emotional, mental, and academic growth of their students. Their teachers repeatedly tell you, what do you teach? I teach children. What children do you teach? I teach all children. And they look every single day into ways that they can grow and develop. Their achievement scores went from the single digits to nearly 50% proficiency in their reading and math scores on the last General Summative Assessment. Are they still a designated CSI school? Yes, they are. Have they had achievement gains? Yes, they have. And ultimately, all of their students are having their needs met as best as they can. And beyond the schools, I know these strategies work. I know this capacity works because it works in my home. As a single mom of 4 and as a special education administrator, I would tell you I don't watch a lot of TV and I don't sleep a whole bunch. But what I do know is that the strategies that I expect my teachers to use and that I coach, I use with my 3 biological children and my adopted child out of the foster care system. Every day that she has her own growth with her own teachers, I know that these strategies work. I can call out all of the buzzwords. We can talk about ACEs, opioids, handle with care. Are you trauma informed or are you trauma sensitive? Are we stuck in generational poverty within West Virginia, or do we have community and systemic trauma? Are they born drug dependent? What about their self-regulation? Are we working out of our thinking brain or our feeling brain? What's your NASH rate? What is the human trafficking prevalence in your county? And what is the rate of abuse, neglect, and taken into the foster care system? But those are buzzwords, and they are important, but ultimately we have to build capacity. Nothing that we teach our teachers, nothing that we coach our social workers and counselors, none of the support that we give our administrators is anything new. It's not a magic bullet, and it's nothing that most of you already know that needs to take place. But no longer does it occur in a silo in Lincoln County. It's not one best teacher, it's not one school counselor, it's not one intervention model on one grade level team. We see it as a puzzle, a 3D puzzle, or a two-sided 2D puzzle, in which every single child in every single classroom in each one of our schools within our district has to be taken into account individually. We accept the fact that our kids, if they can't talk it out, they act it out. If they feel empty, they will fill it with something. Ultimately, we know we can only change our own behavior and not theirs, and we can create the environment optimal for their success. In working with not only the Department of Education, but multiple agencies as well as national contacts, we are in our 4th year of becoming trauma-informed and trauma-sensitive in Lincoln County. When ReClaim West Virginia was rolled out to the counties as special education directors at our conference, we were excited, we were empowered, and we know that this can work. No matter what role that you're sitting in your seat today, you have the opportunity to go to your school and your district and take the next step. If that's your classroom, I'm sure Whitney Berry, one of my teachers that is sitting up in that row against the wall, will tell you, okay, I had to start with flexible seating and lighting in my classroom and figuring how to do small groups. And she can tell you her achievement scores rose, her classroom management increased, her discipline referrals went down. I can tell you that for Casey Campbell, who is another one of my teachers sitting up here, that then they were able to take and develop a program for their ID students and their students labeled as EBD to give them a CTE opportunity that they had never had before, that the entire staff at Lincoln County High School supports every single Friday when they cook food in their grill. Ultimately, each one of my teachers can tell you their next step that they had to take individually. My counselors and social workers can tell you their next steps. Sometimes they have to operate by themselves and get their colleagues to join with them. Some of them have had awesome opportunities in which school-wide staff developments have occurred, and some of our central office staff has been able to go in and create district-level initiatives like social workers being employed at each one of our schools. So no matter the role that you're sitting in, you have a next step to take. Will this solve the problem? Probably not. But will it make a positive impact? Will it change the life of at least one student? And the answer is yes. I'm often reminded of the story of the man that is walking across the beach and he's throwing starfish in one at a time. And someone comes up to him and goes, "There is no way that you can save all the starfish on this beach." And he said, "But I saved that one. I made a difference to that one." When we look at our students as individuals and not WEVIS numbers, when we look at them for their individual needs and not just the writing on their IEP, when we look at our students to see them as the whole child and not just their academic scores, we will continue to make strides in the face of insurmountable opposition.